There's 4 basic fears people come into the world with, and that's fear of failure, fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, and fear of expression. And that's what I work with on people when I'm doing their soul history. I tell them which fears they're working on. And some can be acquired in this lifetime, but mostly they come in with them. But they pick families that might do the rejection because it's supposed to force them to accept who they are or to learn to stand in their own power.
Oh, my gosh. My family worked perfectly. Okay. That's exactly what I ran into.
Exactly. If they can heal so much quicker if they can look at the family unit, why they picked that family unit.
Uh-huh.
Okay? And you see an awful lot of people coming from adverse circumstances and learning to stand in their own power, and they become very successful.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole purpose to begin with.
Yes.
Remember, fears are irrational, except the natural fear that we're born with. The rest are irrational in terms of how we internalize that. It's really arrogance when we think we're less than, and it's arrogance when we think we're better than. And that's where all the decisions come from. You allow other people to define who you are. So what you have to do is look for your own power.
Explain a little bit about rational fear.
Irrational fear or rational?
Rational.
Well, rational fear we're born with. That's the natural, healthy fear that you don't go walking across a bridge if there's a train going underneath it because you could fall in. That there's an instinctive fear there. The same, you don't cross the road with a bus coming down it. That's the instinctive fear that keeps us safe. That's the natural fear, and that's rational. The irrational fear is when you have a fear of something that you can't identify and it takes up all your energy. You know how people have fear of the unknown? And the thing about, here they are in a place where they know. And the thing about fear of the unknown is very irrational because 90% of people go from where they are to the unknown, and they discover the unknown is far better than what they knew. And then they kind of worry about, why did I worry so much about that? Or they make a comment like that. And it's kind of like that the fear of the unknown, I think, only brings in what other fear that they're dealing with, if it's the failure or the expression or, whatever it is. And people with the fear of expression, oftentimes it's because it might be trauma in a young life where they just don't have the language to express the feelings. If the trauma happened at a very young age, they just don't have the language to express it. So you go about, helping them identify that.
And how do they overcome that then? How would they work with that?
Then what they do then is start learning about naming feelings and trying to identify them. What happens is, if they can't name the feelings, they usually end up with all this anxiety. Okay? And the anxiety is because all the feelings are jumbled together. So we go through the basic feelings and find out what it is that they're feeling. What most people are great at just expressing anger. Or they can't tell somebody, they can't ask for what they want or say something to somebody unless they're angry. And nobody pays attention to that because they dismiss you and say, oh, you're just angry. So they don't know how to ask for what they want or say what they want without feeling something that's feeling rejected or feeling a failure at it or feeling abandoned by what afraid they're going to be abandoned if they confront somebody on something. It kind of goes in all that kind of direction. So, when somebody is sitting in front of me, it's much easier for me to walk them through it, and then they have to practice it. That's if it's not clinical anxiety or something that can be medically treated. If it's just your general anxiety about where I'm going to go, how's my future going to be, those kind of things. It's kind of like, I get a lot of questions, is there, if it's a woman, is there a man in my life? If it's a man, is there a woman in my life? Because they have this ideal person in their head. And I say, well, what kind of qualities do you want in that person? And they'll list them, and I'll say, do you have all of those qualities? No. Well, then you're not going to get that person until you become what you want. When you become what you want, then you draw that energy towards you. And then you work it out from there. that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And again, it's awareness. It's being aware of where we're going, who we're with. If you hang around a bunch of negative people all the time, you're going to be a negative person. So if you are a negative person trying to get through life or suffering from whatever, mild depression, situational depressions, find someone that's fun to be with, or find someone that you want to emulate, or find somebody that you watch them and decide that's who I want to be like, and pick those characteristics. It's like growing up in a dysfunctional family, and who hasn't, really? I haven't met anybody yet that hasn't. And it's like taking from the parents the good things and leaving the rest, and let the rest of it go.
Mm-hmm.
Just work on letting it go and asking for help to do that.